Alright guys and girls, I have a quick tip here. This is a Parker Brothers barrel of one of my Parker shotguns. I don't know if you can see it here. Let me walk out of here. So it is a twist barrel, but you could do this either a twist, Damascus, or a steel barrel. And let me just show you the inside of the barrels. They're not too bad. See how nice and shiny that is? There's just some slight, like really small pitting in there, as you can see right there, especially in the breech here. Like there's just some, like right there, there's a little bit. But other than that, these barrels are in fairly, really like decent shape. So you could get barrels that are kind of heavy pitted, but you don't want to get them too heavy. So the trick or the tip that I want to show you is how to smooth out some pitted barrels. Again, if it's extremely pitted, this is not going to work, but it has worked for me in the past and even in the future here. I've done some barrels recently and it does a pretty nice job. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get some flexible sandpaper. This is not your everyday paper sandpaper. It's not your wet and dry black sandpaper. It's called 3M flexible sandpaper. It's kind of like a plastic. I think it comes in different grades and 220s, 100, 150s. So if the barrel is pitted like a little bit worse than this, it has some light to kind of slight heavy pitted barrels, I would recommend, like, start with maybe 100 grit and then move up to maybe 150 or 180 and then 220. So what you do is you cut them in strips. So like if you don't have a bore cleaner or like I know those bore reamers are like, $600 or so. So this would be the poor man's way of doing it. Poor man's. And I'm in my garage, so if you see that rug there, that's not my house. So it's definitely the garage. What you want to do is you want to grab some oil. So you got some oil here, some older hops oil that I have. And you want to put some oil on the sides of the insides of the barrel, okay? I already have some in there, so I already did that. So you want to do that. Next thing you want to do, you want to put the sandpaper side down, and then there's a smooth side. Like I said, this is 3M flexible sandpaper, so it's not going to rip on me. And you put it right over the hole that you're going to, sand out a little bit. Then you take your really good ramrod here, cleaning rod, and I have this brass one. That's an older one. You don't want to get the cheap aluminum ones because they'll bend on you. And you get the adapter right here that is meant for your shotgun. Now this is for a 12 gauge, and that's what that is 12 gauge. So if you have a 410, like here, say you have a 410 or something, of course you want a smaller, and it's the wire brush one. So you put that over the hole. I'm going to try to do this with one hand like I do all my videos. And you're putting it in the barrel. See how I'm putting this in the barrel? And I'm pushing this down. So when you push it down, hear it? And it's sanding those in line of that barrel. There you go, see? And you go all the way through with it. Okay? And you do that about 15, 20 times. So let me do it with one hand here and boom. See how it popped out of it? There's the sandpaper. So then you bring this back up. Let me try to grab it with one hand here. I'm bringing it back up. So actually what came out of that barrel is just the adapter. And you do that, like I said, 10, 15 times. And you start with like a, if the barrel is a little bit heavy pitted, but not too heavy, start with a lower grit. Mine is 220 because these barrels are not that pitted. So, and then as you can see that? Ooh, that sun's pretty bright. Let me get out of the tree. So there you go, see? You can see how nice that's coming along. Now I did this about 5 times already. Okay. And this one I did probably about 6 or 7 times. And it's going to need another 4 or 5 times at least. Okay. And then when you're all done, and like I said, depending on how pitted your barrels, you want to start with a heavier grit paper. So you might want to start with 80 or 100. 80 is pretty rough. So if you have really pitted barrels, I would not recommend going 80, but maybe minimum 100 to 120. Start with that if they're lightly pitted. If they're worse than this, and then go up to a 220, because this is pretty thin, you know, sandpaper, and I don't think you need any more than this after you start with the lowest. That just common sense, you know what I'm saying? Common sense, what you want to do. But again, you have to get a good rod, because if you don't get a good rod, this one's brass, like I said, and it is an older one, it won't work, because the cheap rods, I thought I had one around here, I guess I don't, will bend on you. So you don't want to do that. So make sure you have oil in your barrels. Okay, let's do this side now, the left barrel. Now I just put it there, and I know there's oil in there, so okay, we'll push it down, and then it gets a little tough, but you'll be fine. But if you have the heavy-duty ramrod, I don't know if I could do it with one hand here now. There we go. Oh. Here. So it's lightly sanding the inside of those pits. Now you don't want to do a whole lot again, because depending on the thickness of your barrel, well, let's bring that up. Depending on the thickness of your barrel, it's a pain in the ass with one hand. Let's see. See how nice and bright and shiny these things are getting? You don't want to take off a lot of metal, because if you look at the front, see these old barrels, these old Damascus barrels and these old twist barrels are already thin as it is. So you have to judge for yourself how many times you want to go in and out of that sandpaper, and how much you want to lightly thin that metal in there. So look at that. And this is like an 1878 or 79 Parker Brothers shotgun. And I still use this, so I still practice with this. And as you can see, it has the twist, the beautiful twist steel, which is really, really pretty. I love the twist. Now, of course, you don't shoot magnums or anything in it. Okay? And you shoot either black powder, or you want to shoot like light. Like this is a 12 gauge, so you want to shoot like, you know, some very light field loads, like low brass loads. But this one's still in great shape. I mean, you could see it, how good a shape it's in. Let me get it a little bit. It's not bad. It's in really good shape. So some of my other Remingtons are not as good a shape, and I haven't started those yet, but I'd have to go with a lower grit paper. But again, so after you oil it and after you do it a bunch of times and get it where you want it, clean it, you know, get a, where is this? Where is it? I don't have it here. So cut up some cloths. Make sure you clean it out really good, because you're sanding metal in there and you don't want it to rust. So, you know, put some good, wrap some of these good cloths in there, you know, and go up and down with the rod and clean it out really good. If you want to use bore cleaner first, get all that metal out of there, and then put a nice couple good thin coats of oil inside your bore, and you'll be good as gold. It'll last another 100 years, right? As long as you don't shoot black powder, right? So there you go. There you go. There's a tip for you to get your inside of your barrels, and it's the poor man's way of getting these things nice and shiny and getting the majority of the pits out that are the light pitting, as you could see. This had quite a few little pits in there, and now I'm down to like 20% of pitting of the very light. All right. Hope it helps you.